Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Stephen Levine. This is Tom Vandevort. Post-race Big Three Chicago edition, where Brad Keselowski, not only does he win the race, but for the first time in his career, he claims the points lead. Not without a little bit of controversy, though.
Well, yeah, I guess he pulled up onto the backstretch in a way Jimmy Johnson didn't particularly like, but it was borderline, and I think NASCAR made the right non-call. But what do we say about Brad Keselowski last week going into the chase? If he gets off to a good start, he could be there. This guy is a junkyard dog, baby. He's going to fight and scrap and claw for every last little piece of meat on that racetrack.
Thank you, Jim Croce. You know what, though? Jimmy Johnson laughs in the face of a 3-point differential.
I agree.
It's 3 points, man, and Jimmy Johnson was as strong as anybody, with the possible exception of Brad Keselowski at Chicago. This championship is still Jimmy Johnson's to lose, but Brad Keselowski is one of those guys that I think has the potential to win a couple of races. Does he have the ability to be consistent enough? I think that's still a question.
Sure, I think maybe if you look at equipment overall and track type and all that stuff, that's probably still going to cut more Jimmy's way, more Hendrick Motorsports way. But there's always the factor of wrecks and bad fortune that's out there. And remember, the big points moments in this chase are not the passes for the extra point or extra 3 points or whatever. That's not the big points moment. The big points moment is what we saw yesterday with Jeff Gordon. Throttle hangs, hit the wall, 35th.
Yeah.
That's the big points moment. So those are still out there for everybody looming and lurking. You're still going to have to perform on the plus side, but those moments can keep a Brad Keselowski in contention with Jimmy Johnson, even if maybe he's not always as fast as Jimmy on the racetrack.
Well, let's talk about Hendrick Motorsports as issue number 2, because obviously a lot was made of the fact that they had all four teams in the chase, but Jeff Gordon now, after riding that momentum into the chase, is now essentially out of the championship hunt because of that stuck throttle. Dale Jr. had to go to the back because of an engine change at the beginning of the race and had, a fine afternoon, but certainly not
speed.
He showed speed, but he didn't have a championship-style finish. What did he finish? Eighth. Casey Kane, on the other hand, was the biggest mover in the points standings, left from 11th place to 5th place, and he was your dark horse to win the championship,
sure.
And I don't think he did anything that should change that mindset. I still think Casey Kane is a guy who could sneak up on you.
Well, every track is different, obviously, but you do have 5 downforce tracks in the chase. So any team that comes out and shows a lot of speed on the first downforce track in the chase, and namely Hendrick Motorsports, which at one point had all 4 of their guys running in the top 5, that team showed the speed that you want to see. So that bodes well for anyone who didn't wreck. Right, yesterday. I wonder, too, if there's some area of concern. If you have one guy who has to change an engine for the race and one guy whose throttle hangs during the race, I'm sure those things probably are not related, but remember a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they had some engine issues? You hate to have those things in the back of your mind.
It seems uncharacteristic of Hendrick Motorsports, though.
It does. So I think you just have to keep that in the back of your mind, too.
All right, let's move on to issue number 3. Ryan Newman, Kyle Busch, they were in the running for a chase berth almost up to the end, and in Kyle Busch's case, up basically until the checkered flag at Richmond, yet both of them failed to make the chase. Both of them had top 5 runs at Chicagoland Speedway.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know. I guess it's a glass half full, right? It's too bad. If they were in the chase, then they would be right up towards the front.
But they're not.
But they're not, so they're not.
Well, in some ways, you might say, well, they're extra motivated. Not that they need any extra motivation. I mean, they're race car drivers, but
right.
They want to prove that they are chase caliber drivers, even though they are not in the chase. And for them to grab a series of top 5s or to grab a win during the chase, those are some bragging rights there.
Well, the other thing is, we have seen many teams finish off the year well and go on to the next year with a momentum and some learning, some actual things that they've learned about the race cars. Now, we do have this body change coming, so that may mitigate that somewhat. But I think for a race team to perform well in the chase, that's one of the things in other sports you're not participating in the playoffs. You're done, your season is over. You still have stuff to accomplish here. If you're Kyle Busch, if you're Ryan Newman or anybody else who didn't make the
And
chase.
remember that Ryan Newman only signed a 1-year extension with Stewart-Haas Racing, so they're still trying to attract sponsors. I'm sure Ryan Newman would like to extend that deal into a multi-year agreement if he can.
And Kyle Busch probably thinks, look, I can go out here and win a couple, 3 races in this chase and show everyone what could have been and maybe what should have been if I'd been there. So I think he's going to want to accomplish that for sure.
All right, for Tom Vandervoort, I'm Stephen Levine. Thanks a lot for watching.